It's 7:36, Talk Radio 790 KBC, on a Monday morning, the 10th day of December. And we're live and local until 10 o'clock this morning, as we have been for many, many years. That, of course, was the great Groucho Marx in Animal Crackers in 1930. And no, Randy, I was not in that movie.
But you saw it when it premiered, right?
Well, actually, I saw it at a Dollar House the next year. Ladies and gentlemen, and hello, I must be going. In fact, that is the theme of this segment. I was looking at the calendar, and I realized that on Monday, next Monday, a week from today, is December 17th, which is the anniversary of the Wright brothers' first flight. And 25 years ago to the day, I made my first appearance on KABC Radio as a guest on the Ray Bream Show, because I had written the cover story for American History Illustrated magazine on the Wright brothers, being the Wright brothers nut that I am. And Ray was a pilot. Ray, by the way, for those of you who don't remember, was the overnight guy here at KABC for 30 years, from midnight to 5 a.m. And he was a pilot, so he invited me to come in and talk about the Wrights. And that was the very first time I set foot in KABC Radio. And so it's appropriate that as we come up on that anniversary, 25 years to the day, that this Friday will be my last broadcast at KABC after 22 years on the air here. And this was a decision that I've been contemplating for a very long time, and I informed Drew Hayes, our program director, operations manager, and Don Greco, our market manager, on October 1st, that this would be my last year. And the reason is that there's other things that I want to do in life. There's things that I want to write. There's a couple of more films that I want to make with my wife. Not that kind of film. You got a dirty mind. And, well, actually, now that I think of it, no. So the point is, after 22 years of getting up at dark 30, it's time to pass the baton, and the station will announce who will be taking over the morning show in a couple of days. You'll find out, and I think you'll be very happy. And I'm very happy. I'm very excited about what comes next. It's a little scary, I admit, but it's also very exciting. And it's also, I want to make this very clear, 100% my decision. I could not be more proud of this radio station and my years spent. I spent over a third of my life here. So as I get ready to leave this Friday, which will be the last broadcast, I leave with nothing but love for this radio station, the people I have worked with, and the people I work with. By the way, anybody need a Kleenex? By the way, I have some Kleenex. Anybody Kleenex?
Don't get me started.
Tears of joy. That's the problem.
No.
They're so happy.
You're taking the bell with you, right?
Randy actually spent the whole weekend at a confetti store. He was so happy when he heard this news.
Now, how much of this has to do with me?
Only about 60%, not 100%.
Because I got here 5 years ago, and now all of a sudden you don't want to stay here.
Well, 5 years.
Well, if you were to put on clothes and taken a shower.
Those were 5 dog years. This is something I've actually been kicking around for a while. And, you know, I freely admit that when I turned 60 last year, that really started to kick what had been a notion onto the front burner, from the back burner to the front burner, because you know, you start to look at how many more years of viability do you have, especially in this town where it's menudo. You know, you hit 13 and they send you to the nursing home.
Well, when 7-year-olds are making $22 million.
Right. I'm getting a late start on that. So
you're moving on to unboxing videos, aren't you?
No, actually, I've got an offer from Ease to drive marijuana around town, drop it off at people's houses. No, there are a couple of long-form writing projects that have been long delayed that I want to jump into, and see what life brings. So anyway, not to belabor the point, but this Friday will be my last broadcast, and we're going to have a good time between now and then. We'll continue to cover the stories. We'll have some special guests. I've invited some of my favorite music friends who have been with us over the years to stop by, and that includes today, kicking off with a chat with Gordon Goodwin, whose brilliant music has provided the theme song to this show for years. Sing Sang Sung originally, and then we switched to his version of Get Smart, which we play at the top of every hour. So Gordon's going to join us, yeah. We'll be joined by Gordon in the 9 o'clock hour. And we'll take some phone calls. We'll be a little more loosey-goosey. As you may have noticed this morning, we've been featuring some of the songs, if you're a longtime listener, that we played many, many times, some of them going back to Red Eye Radio when I was doing the overnight show. And by the way, that's to me, that's one of the most incredible things that ever happened. And why there's a certain synergy about ending this show on the eve of the Wright brothers' anniversary on December 17th, because I first came to KABC because of the Wright brothers. And then when I was driving home from KABC after making that appearance with Ray Bream, I thought, what a fantastic job that is. You can go in the middle of the night and prattle on about all this esoteric jibber-jabber that I'm interested in. and they pay you to do it. What a fantastic job. And a year and a half later, I had his job when Ray retired. It's like and by the way, I got the job because my good pal Bob Wilcox, who's written a number of books about the Air Force, was invited on an Air Force junket to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And he says, you want to go? And I go, sure. So we got on a KC-10 tanker out of L.A. and flew in this military refueler, landed at the Air Force Base named after the Wright brothers in Dayton, Ohio. And the main runway, by the way, is 100 yards off of their first flying field when they left Kitty Hawk. It's never been built on. It's still there, Huffman Prairie. And then flew back. And on that flight was a gentleman named Sandy Singer, who happened to be good friends with George Green, then general manager of Talk Radio 790 KBC, and just chit-chatting in a windowless airplane. On that long flight, I mentioned about how I was interested in talk radio and how I had such a great time talking to Ray Bream. He says, well, I know George Green. Why don't you make a tape and send it to him? Tell him I sent it. So I think this whole thing started with the Wright brothers. I mean, I'm flying back from Dayton, Ohio after – anyway. It's
and did you think 22 years later?
Still
You'd
here.
still be here?
Yeah, which to me shows appalling judgment on the part of management that they let this go on this long. But anyway, folks, so that's the story. It's life goes on for everybody, and you will be in very good hands. And I'm also, by the way, thrilled to say that Ms. Tweeden and Randy and Bill Thomas, of course, will stay. And continue to do their wonderful work, which is a great thrill to me that this part of the show will continue. So,
I've still got a few years left on my KABC prison sentence.
Well, not if they find those photos. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we got a lot to talk about, including we're going to have a chat with Bobby Chacon, former FBI special agent, will be coming up. We're going to talk about the friendly fire incident, the borderline shooting. We'll continue to cover the stories. We'll take a couple of phone calls, and we'll play some great music, and we'll have some laughs. So Friday, December 14th, will be the last broadcast for me. The show will continue to the end of the year and then be rebranded with a new host starting in the new year. It's 7:45. Let's go get traffic. Here's Bill Thomas.